Hey y'all, this is Synosis, and today we're going to be doing some Gran Turismo 7, and yeah, I'm not going to call this Synosis show now, I'm just going to call this Gran Turismo 7 like part 1 or whatever, and stuff that just, making it a series kind of stuff, so yeah. We're going to be doing the daily ones. I just managed to do the daily ones like yesterday, like the ones like they were close to running out. Well, not really. I mean, I think there were 3 or 4 hours left when I finished it or whatever. And that was just because I was being very, like I really wanted to try and finish like a certain race with a certain car because they had like the Skyline thing. And I wanted to try and finish it with a certain car that is not super good. It's actually really lag for some reason. It might be, of course, because we're running with the whole 4K and stuff that, We're not running with the 120 Hz, of course, because in that you can only run with 1080p. And this is the Skyline that I really wanted to try and win with this one. And stuff that normally I have it with higher horsepower because you can see here, for example, like you can go in on it, for example, and I could, for example, just set up this turbocharger here to have even more horsepower and stuff that, which is, of course, which is pretty crazy. But then, of course, the main problem is for example here, this is like what its default value is at from the thing. And then the thing is like, okay, like how much can you bring that up and stuff that, because if I bring it up to 350, for example, that makes it too slow. Can I bring it up to 300 and still be good enough? The main problem, of course, is that these cars kind of unbalanced and stuff that. And I've already forgotten exactly, like, here's the thing, right? I do think that something they should have, for example, like this reads, for example, if you reduce raid height, be sure to increase spring rate and sort of the suspension stroke. But then, for example, when you read here like this, as you tell those films of the Amsterdam compression stroke, okay, so you might think that, okay, so I should adjust that. But then they say that acts similar to spring rate. And then this, for example, says, yeah, expansion stroke. So does that mean that the natural frequency is the only thing you increase, and then the other things you decrease? Whatever, is that what they quote-unquote mean? Because yeah, shorten suspension stroke and increase spring rate. But do they mean also, for example, because they say that this, for example, is the effective spring rate? Yeah, that's the spring rate. So this should always be increased to whatever the maximum is, especially if you're using, but it also depends on the tire series. You can see that if you're using racing tires, you want around 3 to 5. Whatever it is, but of course you can just bring it to that, for example. So that probably also means that this should just be slightly higher always and stuff that compared to this one. So this should probably be like 105 or whatever, right? So yeah, so that is something. But what I ended up actually using, I ended up using this one and stuff that I tuned up this one and stuff that, although I did have very little cash at the time, so I had to like do certain things in a certain order. Anyway, aside from that, because because you can see here, for example, display settings here, for example, prioritize ray tracing resolution, and 120 Hz. I did run with that for a while, but of course then the resolution, even though it's set to 1080, because it basically changes to 1080, but then the output becomes fairly bad, I feel like. One thing that was very important was this, for example, like you can select the menu BGM here, menu sound effects, play race BGM volume, race sound volume, replay BGM, because certain things can be very loud. So for example, if you play late at night, or if you play like after midnight or whatever, or if you play even before midnight, and maybe people are sleeping or whatever, right, you might want to turn down the replay so that the replay isn't fucking blasting at insanely high volume and stuff that, and certain like menu music can also be really loud and stuff that is there as well. So yeah, so here you definitely want to go in and change certain things from the sound volume there and stuff that, but yeah. We're going to check what the things are. Is it going to be just the new events that they added? It's going to be the question here for the events. It's just going to be the new events. So that is with... Okay. So there's no limit, 380 suggested, so yeah, let's just show off although it's worth quite a lot of points right now because I did black tune it to the maximum. And I managed to get lucky and actually get a part for it and stuff that. What it is, there it is. Yeah, and you can actually use dirt on it. I thought I did get the racing halls for it. I did not get the racing halls for it, huh? I'm pretty certain that I did. I thought I did for some reason get the racing halls for this. Hang on, let me check here. Was it this that I got the racing halls for? Yeah. No, I got the racing softs for this. Yeah, I did get the most. But then this I've also gotten dirt for. Yeah. I'm not gonna be using that though. Because the swap on this is insane. It's one of those muscle car engines, and then you can tune it up, and it becomes pretty hard to drive. I did try to drive it also with its default, except I did get the. No, I thought I did get the sports softs for it, huh? Like what? I'm pretty certain I did use it in a race, and then I used left on comfort softs or sports softs on it. Like, what's going on? Like I said, because there's no way that it doesn't say that. Because I'm pretty certain I did it with that, or did I do it with this one? Did this one have sports softs? No. This doesn't have sports softs either, so what? Did something change, or like what? What other cars were there? Or was it, or did I just slap it on the Elantra? Maybe it was just on the Elantra that I slapped it on. The sports soft, I did slap that on the Elantra at least. So yeah, I must have used the default tires on both of them, okay. And that's so weird, I could have sworn that I did that. Is this really? Okay, so we're gonna have to go with comfort mediums. Then we can get comfort softs at least here. I'm pretty certain that we could probably turn this up then to. I don't know. I mean, it is still pretty heavy, although I'm pretty certain that if I get 300,000, I can get it even lighter, I think. Or was that on the Skyline? That might have been on Skyline where we could get that weight thing. I'm going to test our handles with 270 there. On the maximum, yeah, so we have that. That wasn't equipped for whatever reason. It is weird sometimes. So we've gotten the high, because there is no ultra on this. There's no stroke up on this. There's no anti-lag. So yeah, let's go with the Rob Adventure. So, I mean, it doesn't get super quick or anything, and stuff that, so yeah. I can turn this off now. The auto drive. I had it on for a certain specific thing. And that was mostly when I was using the really bad car and stuff that, But sometimes don't feel bad about having that on sometimes, Because sometimes, you might have a undrivable scrap heap and stuff that, and then it's just better to just have this on sometimes. Very certain we can get away with not having like control on. But I'm pretty certain I did end up getting this, yeah. The torch. I'm pretty certain that I did get this for it. Yeah, because it should always be on the 50-50 if you want it to be actual four-wheel drive and stuff like that, because if you set it to something else, that is different. Okay. One thing also that is important, by the way, is that this had changed. This had actually changed back to 4, which I believe it's actual default value. And normally I use -2, but I've actually set it back to 0 and stuff like that. But these, of course, you can set these on strong, for example, and the brake on strong, because that activates the thing on the controller. Now, the controller has its own individual setting on the whole trigger effect and stuff like that you can set that to strong, for example, which is the default, and the vibration being strong is its default value. But then you need to actually set it on strong here as well. Although I feel like the vibration in controllers for a lot of things have actually gotten like way weaker than they should probably be. I did turn that off, right? Yeah, I did. So one thing also, by the way, right, 10 minutes, 11 minutes almost. So they did buff the Corvette, or at least that one Corvette that I did end up getting and stuff that, I'll probably end up getting the other one, but then the question is the other one even worth it at that point? And stuff that, stuff that, so. Because here's the thing, right? The Corvette, for example, now, for example, you can actually use it in the actual Vision GT races and stuff that. Normally before, as I showed, even if you nerfed it a lot, right, you could only get away with using like sports tires and stuff that. I believe if you use sports tires, then you weren't even able to do the Vision GT races, because you had to have racing tires or whatever. I think was the which is a weird thing, right? Sometimes, like, oh, why be forced to use like racing tires and stuff like that, right? Because otherwise they know, of course, that you would be able to use way stronger cars and stuff that, like. And I can understand, right? Because if you can use sports tires, for example, sports tires lasts, and comfort tires lasts way longer than racing cars, for example, and stuff that. Even the soft variants of, for example, the soft variants of sports tires last way longer, stuff that's, yeah. So for example, now on because I basically had to go in on all the profiles that I did for the Corvette and change them and stuff that, and I even removed like the 951 and then like the over 1001, because now you can basically use its default settings. Now normally it starts with like racing soft tires, so instead I did a default racing hards, default racing mediums, default, and that means of course that there is no ballast, there is no like reduction in the horsepower on it and stuff that, so you can get away with that more easily. And it also kinda seems like the battery on it lasts longer, or the extra like horsepower that you can get, so that is something, and stuff that, but yeah. And also they did show up, of course, during the state of play. They did show up the so-called massive December update, which is going to make it Spec 3. Which, there's a lot of things to be excited about. There's 2 new F1 tracks. There's I believe the Canadian one and the Abu Dhabi one, which are two really cool circuits. I hope though that they do make it so that the Abu Dhabi one is night only, because I believe it is during the evening, or not really during the night, but during the evening when they like do that racing stuff that, so it's always like dark and stuff that, because, so it would be cool to have like a day version of it, but I feel like that is how the race should be. And stuff that right, Yeah, so that will be like, what is it, 100,000, then is it 300,000 for the next one? I think it is. Okay, I was really hoping that we were going to get to use okay, we're going to get to use it. Is it on the states that I think it is? I think this is the race that I did before, and I did it with its default settings. I think I did it with the default settings and I was still able to win. The Lancaster, oh no, I did it with the Toyota before I had upgraded it a lot, at least, I used steps on the dirt tires and I was able to win this race. Stuff that. Although this wasn't then, it was basically, I think it was the same track, but it wasn't just Land Cruisers. So my Land Cruiser should be pretty, pretty insane here. And I believe I can have it set to 350 there and still get away with it. And it doesn't have a turbocharger, but it has a supercharger. But it doesn't have, of course, the highest end supercharger, because that is not available. It's gonna be fucking insane. You always have to make sure, of course, that you're using traction control on 0. Because otherwise it tries to always brake. ABS, I believe you can leave on default in active stability management. I don't think that slows down the car, because there are basically certain things that can slow down the car, basically, so that's it. But maybe it will just be an uncontrollable scrap heap, so I cannot. We do step on dirt tires here, I believe. I mean, normally on the regular tracks, it's not that bad. The flying control. But yeah, this might have been a mistake. Maybe we just have to be careful here and stuff that, Maybe we just have to like tap the acceleration button and stuff that, Did I increase the volume? I did. That's strange. Like, why does it seem like I do have it on 10? Yeah, because the thing with the controller with the vibration here is like, right, if you remember how much old controllers could do, or like even on the PS2, like how much things could vibrate, and even on the original like DualShock. Well, keep in mind that it took a while until the DualShock controller came out on the original PlayStation, because at first it was even analog sticks. And then you had an analog stick controller that came out, and then the DualShock came later than that. And yes, the DualShock was later than the Nintendo 64, which had vibration first. But I think it's unfair to say that Nintendo 64 was first with vibration in the controller. And then, yeah, the vibration was an extra thing that you had to buy for the controller. You had to buy a rumble pack and stuff that. That's not what it was on the DualShock and stuff that. And I believe on the PS2 it was basically like the PS2 controller was of course DualShock 2 and stuff that was the standard and stuff that, but yeah. And it's funny because I remember, right, for Final Fantasy VII, for example, it was meant to be like with the original controller, like the digital, whatever. But I mean, because technically it was a digital controller, because you just used the like the D-pad and stuff like that, but yeah. Of course, the D-pad, the way it was done on the PlayStation controller, was not, of course, the best or anything, stuff like that, but yeah. And a lot of games on PlayStation, of course, ran with that, right? Because even when the analog sticks came out, not all the games had support for it. And I believe, I forgot if Ape Escape released immediately when the analog stick controller came out, or if that was like after, if they waited until like the DualShock controller came out, because I forgot how many months it was, because I don't think it was a year between the analog controller coming out and the DualShock one coming out. Yeah, the Land Cruiser is absolutely insane, because I learned that the Land Cruiser was in production for a very, very long time. And this is of course not the oldest model of the Land Cruiser. They went with the 74 model specifically. And there's actually quite a lot of things you can do with it and stuff that, I forgot if I did check out all the things you could do with Toyota, because I believe you're supposedly be able to put like a top box on it, but that doesn't seem to be available if you use the wide body on it. So that is something. But yeah. Anyway, the December update, by the way, say there's 2 new tracks. It's going to be 8 new cars, and we already know what 4 of them are. That felt pretty short, but that's just because this car is ridiculous fast. Like, you have to realize that this has more horsepower than the Scudo. It's not as light, of course, as the Scudo, but it's just, yeah. But they were only 22 seconds behind, but that's of course because I span out there at the very start and stuff. That's, yeah. It's the FJ 40V Land Cruiser. I mean, I would say this, that I would hope that they would release more of the Land Cruisers. More than more, because there's been a lot of models and stuff like more modern models and stuff like that. And it's crazy that that's only 647. Like, maybe. So I'm guessing if you don't use the maximum engine, right? Like what? If you use, let's say you use Sports Hard, for example, what engine could you get away with and do the Tokyo 600 with? It's going to be a question, of course, obviously. Right. That's weird. That's weird for a thing. That's weird, right? Because none of the cars were an American car that was in the latest update, right? That's rather odd. Right, because the Opel, of course, isn't American, so there's no limit. Yeah, I mean, if there's no limit, then Right, and I don't think I need to change anything here. Yeah, maybe put it on the maximum. 400 here. I think this is fully upgraded though. If you reduce ride, be sure to increase spring rate. But let's say shorten the suspension stroke. And you would think then, but what? Like, is it both of these that you should decrease then? They say specifically that this is similar to the spring rate. So should this also be increased and then use the dampening expansion be reduced, or should both of these be reduced, right? If someone knows, right, like then, Because as I said again, it is like increased spring rate and shortened suspension stroke. And this is of course the spring rate, as they say. So that, but is then both of these the suspension stroke? Because this is the expansion stroke. And they say that this behaves similar to spring rate. But if it behaves similar to spring rate, then you would want to increase it. But then let's say that this is the compression stroke. And this is the expansion, so should one of these be increased and one of it be lowered, because maybe now the cars become... But I do believe, right, this is not four-wheel drive, right? No, this is FR, right? Yeah, this is FR. And it's using the VXI Viper engine, which I believe is... I forgot if that is an engine swap. No, because this is a... Or is that specifically? Maybe that's actually the... Maybe that's a different version of the... of its thing. Let's see. I don't know, can I get away with Traction Control 1? We will see. Can I get away with one in Traction Control 2? Because sometimes, like sometimes the races that they do sometimes for like the weekly after like an update has been released and stuff that I know it was released on Wednesday, but I wasn't able to test it until Thursday. Yeah, I probably need more. Let's put it on 3 for now. And I forgot if this was the default colors or if I went and bought the Team Orica colors and stuff like that. Because yeah, you might remember also that in Gran Turismo 3 the Dodge Viper or one of the models they were like really good and stuff like that, you know. Because I've been thinking about a video that I want to be doing at some point of like the best games like ever made and stuff like that. Because I've done like a top 100 mile and my personal list of my 100 best games all time basically and stuff like that. Although I have talked about the problems with doing a video like that and that you're going to forget games and stuff that, you know. And then of course if I give a game 100 out of 100 or 10 out of 10, which is a masterpiece in my opinion, that doesn't mean that the game is perfect. And I know that there are certain reviews that 10 out of 10 means that a game is perfect. You know, that is stupid. You can still make something 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100 and call it like a masterpiece. But the masterpieces need to be able to hold up even if like a long time has passed and stuff like that, you know. And of course again it depends on the person. But then the main problem of course with making something like, okay, like what's the best game ever made, like certain people are gonna enjoy certain categories of games and stuff like that, you know. Stuff like that. And there might have been games that I didn't like grow up with or whatever, or that I didn't have because I went from the NES of course into the Super Nintendo and then I got the PlayStation and stuff like that, so I never had the N64 and stuff like that. But I do know, for example, how much Super Mario 64, for example, mattered because it was made with the controller in mind or whatever it was, if I remember correctly. But yeah, my voice is getting bad. Yeah, because I've been talking quite a bit the last few days and stuff like that. So you know, like not recording or anything, but you know. Yeah, so that definitely helped, of course, doing the thing there with this one, but yeah. Also, because there was one week, I do remember there was one week when the thing had come out, where they came out with the new cars, and then the events that you had for like the weekly race ended up almost just being the new events that was added like with the latest patch or whatever, right? Because they did add a couple of new events. But maybe they realized that a lot of people will already have done those events, and then it feels annoying to have to do the same events again, or whatever. Yeah. The funny thing is that Fisherman's Rest, like I believe, was the same that was in the update, but that was like a dirt race, or whatever that was new or whatever. I think it was. No, it wasn't. I just remember things wrong. Yeah. Because I did not do all the new races that had come out and stuff like I didn't do all of them. I know that they had data say like World Touring Car like 700 race and stuff that's going to be pretty interesting. But they seem to have handled fine actually, yeah. Because I did try to do the same here on another car on the Skyline car, for example, like the World Skyline, like the old model. But then it feels so odd because the Skyline that did good in that race, or maybe that race is just always overtuned, even though it doesn't show up the chili icons that it should be like a harder race or whatever, right? You know, because there are definitely certain races where it feels like the AI, well, seats and shit. Basically, that the AI is rubber banding or whatever. Whatever, you know. Also, in the update, by the way, they're gonna add more levels. But here's the thing about if they add more levels, it's not really gonna matter unless you actually have more rewards for it. I feel like, because yeah, sure they could add more levels, but yeah, sure. Here's the thing, like normally, if you do use the custom race that you can do, or not even like the quick race, the reward for that of course increases if you've done the circuit experience. But I believe that reward also goes up with your collector level, if I remember correctly. So if you have high enough collector level, those rewards for the quick races should go up as well. But yeah. But imagine if they did something, oh, reach this level and now all the engine swaps are cheaper by like 20, maybe they could be like a, oh, engine swaps are cheaper by 25%, like all the engine swaps you can do basically are just 25%. Then maybe there could be another later one that could be like engine swaps are cheaper now by half, like 50%. Because they need, people to spend credits or something for stuff that's, yeah. But imagine also something like, oh, stuff on the tuning shop are cheaper or whatever, right? Or this reduces the prices on the in car dealership or something like that, Yeah. And the invitationals being like the keep in mind that I don't have water in the water bottle, so I will need to go and drink some water. I need to. Oh, by the way, also when it comes to like the whole, how I said on this one, maybe that is too high because of course, keep in mind that if you set it very, very high, and if the car cannot even reach 400 and stuff like that, then it can be like a waste. And sometimes, of course, if you're riding on a track that doesn't have like very, very long straights, then it's often better to change it to something else and stuff like that, Anyway, we're coming up on the final lap now. Are we still improving? No. I try to yeah, that made me lose the clean race points. Yeah, something like that can sometimes make you do a bit because it's just very weird and sometimes you don't know. And for some reason I still got the clean race points and I was like, huh? So that like I don't know that for the next people. So random with clean race points, right? I do think it was fault. I should be, probably have to rebalance all the credits from motivation because like why would you do certain races, for example, like if you use playing casually or whatever, right? Why would you do certain other races of Tokyo like 600 and stuff that, But you might say that certain races are short, but then if you have a race that takes, a certain amount of time and then you're like, okay, like this many laps, but then it doesn't feel like the value or money you get for it is worth it and stuff, that's, yeah. Because I mean, if Tokyo by default paid out, what is it, 825,000, I think it is, you get clean race bonus or something like that. Or maybe it's not that much, or maybe it is. Or you say it's 500,000 normally, right? Or 550,000. Yeah, maybe that is correct. But yeah. The thing is also that, for example, that you can crash into the walls as much as you want. Like you can wall ride basically. But I forgot if it's used that you specifically can only wall ride, but you cannot do the other type. Because you can crash into the wall a certain way and not get it, but you can also lose it if you crash into the wall in the wrong way. It's weird. Okay, there's our 10 KP was there, okay. Yeah. Let's just check in the tickets first here. Because I would love, of course, if there is a vision race, I would love to be able to use the Opel, because I haven't used the Opel yet. I haven't even gotten the Opel yet. But I've already watched the viewers campaign. The Porsche we will get from that will be really good though, because it's that expensive Porsche. Ooh, is that a Subaru Drift? Okay, that's okay, because it's a decent castle mod. It's 30,000, yeah, that's okay. 100,000. Didn't that used to be 300,000 as well? Because yeah, so it's 500,000, 6, 7, 800,000 used for a week. I thought there were certain weeks when it was higher before that this used to be 300,000 or whatever, right? But maybe, because you have to realize the fact that there are people out there that are sitting on like 96 million or even more than that. I forgot what the default value of the maximum credits was, whatever it was. But yeah. Oh, this sounds like the old music. Kind of a bit. I forgot. Maybe I'm misremembering. Yeah, because there's another one I need to be getting from here. Oh, yeah, that's the Skyline. That's the Skyline as well. Do I have both of those? Isn't that the same model? No. The 70 model, that's the 73 model. And that's the hard top, that's the... Because that's slightly later model. Because these two are interesting, but then of course this one I could get because that one is not super expensive to get. So now I already gotten this one. Yeah, those ones are pretty interesting, the 400R and stuff like that. Did I change the use? So I think that I did get everything because I did end up getting the Delta from here as well. Yeah, this one. Because I was missing that one. And sometimes, of course, cars that are up on the brand central can sometimes appear there as well, but cheaper and stuff. That's yeah. Next. World Rally, okay. Okay, we need to use a GRB. There's no limit. Oh. Actual road race. There's no fuel, right? Oh, there is fuel, right? Okay, that's interesting. So we don't want to use the higher RPM engine then, probably. So, but we lower. I don't know if that's the correct thing to do on every single car, though. Oh! This was not even set to being 4-wheel drive there by default. Yeah, you should realize that if certain cars have this, go in and make sure that they set to the 50-50 so that they're actually 50 front, 50 back, basically front rear torque. So that's actually for actual real 4-wheeler, because you can see here A center differential which can be adjusted to alter the distribution of the torque between the front and rear wheel drives. Everything from FR style oversteer to the rigid understeer characteristics can be achieved. So you can basically, so you can get the FR, like the rear wheel drive. You can get basically the front wheel drive as well, the FF stuff. That's I'm pretty certain though we can reach to 70 maybe. I don't know if I should just leave it at its default value, or if that's going to be too slow. Now let's just, most of the day it's default. 250 is just default, because we don't have any turbo charge on it there. We're gonna have to see what the top speed is on the other cars here as well. We're gonna just have to see if this is doable. Low set on lowest, low set on lowest, that's set on highest. Because we can use all that gets classified as a GRB car. It's interesting, this gets classed now as a GRB car, okay. And this as well. And that's the turbo evolution. We'll see how this goes. Well, ignore one, okay, so that's a shorter track then. It has to be with 12 laps. Actually, maybe set that on. Yeah, traction control 0. Probably can get away with that, maybe. I need to really go on hard brake as well. Let's just have it set on auto drive the brake. Can we get away with lane 6 here? Yeah, because this is very interesting if it's going to actually be an actual... Fucking hates this stage. I think there have been a race similar to this before, but I forgot if it was with rally cars or not. Yeah, we probably need some traction control here actually. I don't know if 2 is going to be enough on the TCS here. Now maybe I'm just nerfing this too much and stuff that, that could also be a thing. The question is though, can the other cars get away with just one stop? Whatever, right? Or will they do multiple stops, right? Is it worth even running this leniency? I'm already on lap 2 without even realizing it. I fucking hate that. Because I believe that's where you have to drive in to actually go into the pit, yeah. This might have been a race that I didn't do with this car because this car is used to, to like drive all over the place. Because I'm having to brake here actually extra as well, because sometimes the auto drive doesn't even brake enough. Sometimes, which is weird to say. I mean, I'm pretty certain that they can get away with not having to do a single pit stop. Stuff that the enemy cars. So that's the Genesis one. Genesis actually has a pretty cool rally card. In a lie, but yeah. It might just be, yeah, because I'm pretty certain on this race, I had a race on this specific track once where it was, I forgot if it was this specific race, if they used this before, if this is just a repeat. But I believe it was on this exact track. I forgot if it was with all 12 laps or anything, but you can get pushed by other cars into the actual pit lane and stuff that, which if that happens, it's like, yeah, they forced you into the pits, Which is just something that actually used to be an instant, like. Right, that all the other cars should have to like slow down and stuff that. Something like that, or. Yeah, this track is of course very, very cool. I forgot if it was in an earlier Gran Turismo. I think it might have been in. I was gonna say because of my misremembering what game was the earliest. The question is this enough laps to actually catch the leader or whatever, Maybe it doesn't help also that I'm very, very thirsty now. So it's bad when I don't have time to like even get water bottle filled and stuff that, because I'm pretty certain that when I did this race before at one point, I actually won it with the Peugeot one. Stuff that, because that is just a modern one, and sometimes it's just weird with how it is like almost that from paper this should just be able to win easy, but then sometimes it feels like, oh, you're using this very powerful cars and now all the other cars are just going to be faster on the track for whatever weird reason. Stuff that and it might just be that they can run power one and still like get away with like only one pit stop or whatever, but we will see. I mean, if they need to do several pit stops, then it will be worth us using this on lean. But at least what I expected here, that they are all in one big loop and stuff that, Because sometimes they do that, but sometimes it's hard to calculate, okay, will I be able to actually catch them and stuff that, Yeah, this can actually bring me up very, very far here. But it's so weird with certain cars that don't get classified as like racing B cars, and stuff that, even though they probably should, and stuff that. Okay, so one of the cars is going in already. But we set the TCS on 2, right? Yeah, T6 on 2, okay. I don't think it can be on this track, but I'm uncertain, I would like to actually check here. Set it on 50. Oh, okay. Sometimes it's so hard to do this while you're still like driving, like have to hit the thing here and stuff that, It's gonna be number 3 here. Because sometimes it's weird that sometimes you have to buy very specific cars for it to count as a GRB car and stuff that, you know. Like you would think that every single like Subaru Impreza would count as being a B car, but no, you know, and stuff that, you know. You would imagine also that if you, for example, go in and upgrade certain cars, or if you upgrade this car, or if, let's say you engine swap, right, you engine swap a certain type of engine, like, for example, if a car is a gear 1 car, and you swap a gear 1 engine, you're able to put that car in like gear 1 races, even though it's otherwise not optimized for it, you know, or something like that, but yeah. But it would be cool if there would be like, imagine, right, if they had like full kits that you could get for certain cars that you just converted it into that, oh, you can convert this into a GR3 car or like a GR4 car, you know, and stuff like that, and there was a certain kit, and maybe those kits should be expensive and stuff like that, but yeah, you know. That would just make a lot more cars more, you know, valuable and stuff like that, but yeah. I'm curious what these cars are here that's going to be like way ahead of everything else. Although it's weird, right, that wouldn't the Escudo also be able to actually be a GRB car? You know, why the Escudo doesn't show up, you know. Yeah, it's weird, right, because they have, I'm pretty certain they have had it before in Gran Turismo games. They've actually had a Pax Peak track, if I remember correctly. Okay. Okay, both of them are in, so I did the correct thing there with the fuel thing. Yeah, no, I don't have a big lead. Alright, and the second car is the Quattro. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. But you can see, that means that Quattro, since he needed to beat that much earlier, that means that he ran with power 1. And I'm running like with power 6, or I'm running with clean and stuff like that, so yeah. Of course, maybe we cannot win this because, you know, like that depends on are we going to be able to get a long enough distance. Yeah, we should have actually changed the brake balance also to be on the front here, because the front is getting worn out a little bit faster. You see the pit lane there, for example, so yeah. No, but it seems like we're going to be able to do the entire race without actually having to pit at all. Balls of rage. Yeah. Don't stop dead, it's curved. Whatever. How long have we been? Okay. Okay, we're almost at time. Okay, so that's good, so that I can then go and have a drink after this. Right, and it seems maybe that we could get away with the final lap, maybe. Probably not really, but we will see. Because right, we are gonna need very little fuel and stuff like that. But yeah, but there's no way that we're gonna be able to catch the second place unless it's just like a super quick pit stop that we could do or whatever. Because here's the thing, right? Because I've said it there before that even if you get for one lap, sometimes that is not correct, you know, because I've said that they've changed the values, which is completely bullshit because I did prove that at one point, right? That, or even if you're running with the lean, the amount that you need, that it says that you need is not correct. Oh, you missed it. No, we did not. I'm gonna get for 2 laps. Or 3 laps. Can we actually change to... Can we change this to lean 1 instead of 1 catch? Is the question. So is 3 laps enough fuel? Catch here. Okay, so they do very quick pit stops here actually. So on this track you actually do refill the fuel rather fast. It is understandable, of course, why this car had to have a very big fuel tank. You know, since it's a rally car, you know, and stuff like that, you know, so, you know. No, that was the finish. Okay, so that's an old finish line position though. Yeah, it's... Yeah. That second place is still enough, we can't put another in here. It's still enough. Because you didn't need to come first place there. And I probably could have gotten away with having it on like the lean one there. I could probably gotten away with less fuel there. And the final is the Alsace, okay. The 700 maybe on this. I don't want to do it with the same car, man. 700 people on this. No, because that's going to be too many points if we get the racing odds for it. What did I have one that was no 700 or less? Yeah, I can go down to 750 or to this. I should probably create one then that is just 700 and stuff like that, although I don't think that that's going to be able to match, but yeah. You can see this 850 setup, and you can see, for example, that you can get away with 166 pellets and almost having the full power on it. Stuff like that, you know. And that still uses racing hards. And then the 800 one is using sports hards, for example. Stuff like that 800 PP setup. And then there's the 750 PP setup is using comfort hards. Stuff like that, so yeah. But you can see that it's still with the full output on it. It's pretty crazy, so yeah. I don't know if you could get away with sports hard here though. If you like add more ballast or block restrict the power and stuff like that, you know, because yeah. Because you see that you have to use racing hards. So that's it. Anyway, let's switch this back to the 851. Because these you can see the default RS there. You have a 900 PP here, for example. The 900 PP is this. So you can see it's full power and it's just a little bit here. Stuff that if you need to do 900 PP, but otherwise it's like default racing hards. You can get away with 912 PP there with the default and the